talking about myself is not my favourite topic. So mine's going to be a bit more black and white. Okay, for those that don't know me, my name is Maria. I've been professed for 20 and a half years. I was a lapsed Catholic, and when I came back into the fold, I joined all these devotional groups, like the Marian movement of priest. I had a rosary group I went to. I checked out the Legion of Mary, but couldn't fulfil the requirement of being a member of the Legion of Mary. And so I was searching. There were many things that led me to be a secular Franciscan, but there were two significant events that really impacted on my life. I'm not from the Newton parish. I'm from Holy Name at Stepney, St. Peter's. And we had a parish lunch one day, and this vibrant, exuberant lady sat at my table. And she was talking, and at some stage she got extremely excited. And she said, "Oh, I have to go to a fraternity meeting. I'm a secular Franciscan." And in my usual manner, I said, "What's that?" That was Lorraine, by the way. So I do owe her a lot. The second one was shortly thereafter, and I'm not sure how this happened. I was invited to a promotions day which was held at Mary MacKillop Centre at Kensington. And Lola was there, she gave her witness. Peggy was there, she spoke about the order, hierarchy of the order, and Tony was there. And there was this lovely lady that made a beautiful sponge cake, but that's not what caught my attention. One of the witnesses was Jan Roth, and someone's going to talk about her. I listened to her testimony, and it had quite an impact on my life. For those of you that don't know her, just very briefly, she was in Java during the Second World War, Indonesia, and she was taken as a comfort woman. A comfort woman is a nice euphemism for slave trade. The thing that sustained her, and it was only 3 months in her life, was her faith. But in addition to that, she was able to forgive those people that did that to her. But there's a second part to that I don't often talk about. Most of my working life has been working with migrants and refugees. I am sorry to say that in my course of my work, I have worked with girls that have been kidnapped from their families and have been used as sex slave. So listening to Jan and how she dealt with her trauma, and having my own personal experience of having worked with some of these young girls, just in a sense blew me away. But it was because of that I contacted Tony and said I want to become a secular Franciscan. So that was over 20 years ago. I am a work in progress. My story isn't complete yet, so here are some bits. So what does it mean to me to be a secular Franciscan? Well, first of all, it's not a devotional group. Once I was professed, I knew that I had made a commitment for life. It becomes a priority in my life after family and work. It is a priority. Prayer is important, and that's been mentioned a number of times. We have prayer by myself, our contemplative prayer, but also prayer together, and I'll talk about that a bit later. It's a way of life. We try, as it's been mentioned, we try to live a gospel life like all Catholics, but as secular Franciscans, we follow the example of St. Francis of Assisi, and you've already heard some of the qualities of being a secular Franciscan. When St. Francis converted, all he wanted to do was to follow and imitate Christ. And it's through his example that we try to implement into our life, that we try to copy. The other thing that's important to me is that we belong to a worldwide family. We talk about the Franciscan family, but it's not just Newton, it's a worldwide. And yeah, one of the questions we get asked is, what do you do? We don't do per se. And as Father said, and as Katerina, or as any of the other secular Franciscans will tell you, We live a gospel life. We try to live a gospel life. And that influences who we are and how we interact with people in all situations, whether it's in the family, in the supermarket, wherever. That's what we do. It's a way of life. We incorporate it into how we behave with the world at all levels. Don't usually have notes. And as I said, it's a way of life. It impacts on how I manage and how I lead my life. It impacts on how I interact with people, with the people I meet in my life, whether they're family, friends or strangers. How I deal with the daily challenge and how I deal with the daily challenges I encounter. What is important to me? When you think of a religious order, what do you think of? You think of men and women living together 24/7, whether it be in a convent or a monastery. Belonging to a third order, like us, means we live in the world. Therefore, it is logical that at some stage, if we are an order, we need to come together. So one of the things that's really important for me as a secular is belonging to a fraternity. Now, fraternity, for me, is very central to who I am and who we are, and part of commitment that I made when I was professed. So, what's a fraternity? As Father said, if you're a Catholic, you can't be a Catholic by yourself. You're not a Catholic. Likewise with being a Franciscan. You can't be a Franciscan by yourself. You need to come together. So I compare, I'm not going to compare it to the Trinity today, I'm going to compare fraternity to a family, because remember I said we belong to a worldwide family. As I belong in the world. I was born into a family. My parents nurtured me, taught me. I failed cooking. They gave me my values for life. The person that I am today is largely due to the impact of my family on me. Family was always very important, like all cultures. Family is the cornerstone of society. Hold on to that. So if you think I was born into a family, I live in a city, I live in a state, I live in the country, I belong to the world. What happens in the world does affect me. For example, sadly, if there hadn't been conflicts in different parts of the world, if there weren't migrants, I would have been out of a job. So I belong in the world. At the moment we can say, if there wasn't a war in the Middle East, petrol would be cheaper. The same with fraternity. The local fraternity is the cornerstone of the secular Franciscan order. We come in fraternity, we belong to a region, we belong to a national fraternity, we belong to the region, and we belong to the international fraternity. Can you see the parallel? What can you do in fraternity? Yes, we have business, just like you do in your normal family. Yes, we have conflicts, we have good times and bad times, just like in the family. We come together, we pray together, we support each other in good times and bad, and we also have what we call ongoing formation. Spiritually, when you come to fraternity, we are fed. We feed off our own experiences, we feed from whatever it is that we're talking about. In Australia at the moment, we live in a secular world. And sometimes, if you work in the secular world, it can be pretty tough. And you think that you're going uphill, you're going one way, and the rest of the world is going another. So coming to a fraternity meeting is like food. It sustains me. It gives me a bit of strength. I also know that my brothers and sisters are going to be there for me if the need arises. We come together to celebrate, not just that once a month meeting, but also throughout. When we celebrate different Franciscan priests, for example, we have retreats, we have days of reflection. They're all part of nurturing ourselves, feeding ourselves spiritually. So I see the fraternity as part of that spiritual growth that I need, just as I would have got that from my own family. So on that note, I am still a work in progress, so this work in progress will sign off. God bless you.